Hi again, everyone. This is one of the sessions I've really been looking forward to. We're going to discuss a little bit around how to assess different AI tools. Why are we doing this? So the best reasons to give is AI has just started, and there will be so much happening the next year, the next 2 years, the next 10 years. Will grow rapidly. We will see so many different platforms like Curepod or other platforms come out, right? ChatGPT shocked the educational system. And I wanted to give you some of our inputs on kind of how to think when you take a look at different AI tools. Because when the internet came out, we had to learn how to think around the internet. We have to learn how to be critical with the sources. We have to learn how to double check and verify information. We have to learn to look out for spam, all of this. And this is the same toolbox I want to give you when it comes to AI tools in education. I'm going to go through a few areas you should look at. And this first off just starts with understanding how AI models usually work. And we've covered this a bit earlier in the course, but just to kind of recap, most of the AI models used today are LLMs, large language models, and they are used to train an AI model in language. So they're not necessarily created for facts. They know a lot of stuff, but they are what we call based on statistics. So it would not say this is the answer. It would say this is the most likely answer. This, of course, makes it really important that every time you have the AI give you facts, you should double check it. That means using an AI tool to create a lesson about something you don't know anything about. It's not impossible, but you would need to do a lot of fact checking because, as we've talked about, like you could never be sure about the facts. There will come big advances in this field. So in just 2 months, this might be completely different. But you should double check it, but then rather create, like, if there's a field you know and have it create a lesson for you and you can double check it, it might give you some really good ideas on how to teach this in a different way or other aspects to add in to make it more engaging for your students, right? So it's still adding content, but since you have control of it, you can double check it. So think a little bit about, do I use this AI to create something because I don't know anything about it? Or do I use AI to create something because I want to either teach it in a new way, or I want to personalize a little bit more to my students, or I want to fit it into kind of, I want to combine these two things. So that's a difference, right? One thing is I want the AI to just give me all the facts. I don't know anything. That's dangerous. I want the AI to show me new ways of teaching this. That's another thing. The other thing to understand is that even though it has facts, it can also be biased. Why? Because it's trained on the internet and the information on the internet is biased. I think the easiest example here is that if you have an AI trained to understand what makes a great CEO, if it goes through the statistics, it's probably the best CEOs are white, Caucasian male, above 50 years old. That's because statistically, a lot of the CEOs are in that group. Doesn't mean that this is what makes them good or that other people can't be good CEOs. So this is the danger when training AI models on this big data set, is they will be biased. So look out for bias. But this is also a big learning opportunity, right? Because an alternative here is to show different AI statements to your students and then try to figure out where is there any bias here, right? So we can work with it, we can teach our students how it works, but we should always be aware of bias. Thirdly, I wanted to kind of, again, touch upon kind of facts versus creativity. It's the first thing I covered here, but again, kind of just always think about, do I use it for gathering facts or to be creative with knowledge, right? Because AI is super powerful when it comes to creativity. You should always be a bit careful when it comes to facts. Another thing I think it's great to talk about is privacy. There will come so many different AI tools, and when you use them, make sure to check their privacy regulation, because you might be giving away a lot of data about yourself, but also about your students. So make sure to take a look at what data they collect and how they use it. Do they use it to train their AI models? Do they use it for anything else? Data privacy will just become even more important in education with AI, and it's an important thing to look out for. Next, I wanted to say a little bit about use kind of feedback and assessment, because this is a really difficult area, and there is no right or wrong answer. But as we have seen, and you can see it just in Curipod's AI feedback, AI has the potential of giving really good feedback. And that's a big problem in schools, right? Why do we use multiple choice? Because it gives the students instant feedback. And they are so motivated to learn the second they hand something in that they are really primed for their feedback then. So we use multiple choice because we can give them feedback at once. While we rather maybe want to test kind of their critical thinking skills, we want to give them short answers or essay answers, right? But it takes time to give feedback. And AI has a huge potential there, either with writing, right? You could have it give you feedback on writing. You can also give you feedback on your argumentation or how you present facts, right? But I want to stop here and think a little bit about what do we do with that feedback. Because, and in my opinion, there is a big difference between using AI to give feedback and using it for assessment at the moment. Because we can never be sure it's 100% correct, so it should be checked through. Right? So if you just have it give feedback, it's a really good, it's a small probability that something might be wrong. But if you have it give them feedback with it, they might tell you, right? But if you use it just to assess them, you're basically saying, I'm trusting this AI to assess my students and determine their future. It's a big difference. So at the moment, I would stay with using it for feedback. And if you're using it for assessment, really make sure you go through it thoroughly. It saves you time, but you should always look through it. But what I want to stress is a learning we've made in Curipod, and this is super interesting, is what we as educators usually want the students to do when they get feedback is to read through it and think about it. They normally don't do that, in my opinion. One of the reasons we see when interviewing students is that this is because feedback from a teacher is kind of like, okay, I've handed in my assignment, my teacher says this, this, and this, then that's how it is. I just need to learn this and change. But when they get feedback from an AI, they know it's the AI that's giving them feedback. They are a lot more interested in reading through it, like maybe I find a mistake. It's always fun to beat the computer. So what we see is that when we use feedback tools, like AI feedback tools, like the one we have in Curipod or in other tools, is that the students read through their feedback a lot more thoroughly. And this is a great opportunity for an activity. So one of my favorite activities in Curipod is to use the personalized feedback tool to give AI feedback. And then have, so for instance, doing for an essay, everyone write a persuasive argument for free school meals to train our persuasive writing. And all the students write in, and I press give AI feedback, and they all get feedback. And then I say, for the next assignment, you are all going to criticize your feedback. So write where you agree and disagree with your feedback. And they are so engaged, right? Because, oh, they get to beat the computer. And I think this is just a brilliant way of kind of utilizing AI feedback, both to actually give feedback, but also have the students reflect a lot more around the feedback they get. I think this covers a lot of the important things you need to think about when assessing AI tools. But to end it up, I just want to say there will be a lot of changes. There will be a lot of new things. There might come some right and wrongs. There might come more regulation. I think the most important thing is just to learn and understand it, so that when students ask us, what is this? We can show them, right? And I think one of the best ways of doing this is being honest with your students of when you're using AI. I've seen some brilliant educators doing some really cool things with CuraPod and other tools. I saw an educator in, I think it was Texas. They had ChatGPT write different texts, and they wrote some text themselves, and they had the students guess which one is written by AI. It's a great way to start a conversation about AI. I saw a teacher in the UK using CuraPod, but he made the lesson live with his class. So, okay, we're going to do this activity. What do I put into it? So the students can see how it's made. And again, this is kind of just involve your students in this, because they need to learn this. This is a super important skill for them, as we've covered earlier on. So I can't wait to explore AI more. And I hope you got an opportunity to start exploring AI here. If you have any questions, just reach out to us. I hope you have a great day.